New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello and welcome to Global Focus. Today, I am your host, Reverend Sharri Johnson, and our guest today is a remarkable person. We have with us Dr. Janine Burns, Reverend Dr. Janine Burns. She is a Jill of all trades beyond measure. She's an ordained New Thought minister, a teacher, a counselor who is passionate about helping people shed limiting beliefs and live from the realm of possibilities. She holds 2 doctorates, a doctorate of divinity and a doctorate of religious studies, and has served as the Anton liaison for Emerson Theological Institute for over 25 years. She has done all kinds of fabulous things, but I want you to hear from her. So I'm just going to tell you she's really cool. She makes the best affirmation cards I've ever seen, and she has actually turned them into jingles and recorded them on a CD called Tunes for Transformation, which was endorsed by Deepak Chopra. So welcome with me, please, Reverend Dr. Janine Burns. Thank you so much for joining us, Janine. It's great to have you.
Reverend Sharri, good to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I've been looking forward to it. There's just so much for you to talk about. I'm going to just ask you starter questions and you can't think of anything else to say, and then I'll ask you another question.
Unlikely, but okay.
Okay, so here's my first one. What's your favorite thing about your ministry?
My favorite thing right now about my ministry, because ministry changes over the course of the life of the minister, I love performing celebration of life, funeral and memorial services, because that's where I can make the most difference. I love to be able to talk to the family and get to know about the deceased, talk about how the soul lives forever. And I like to talk to the congregation about how time doesn't really heal all wounds, because you really have a broken heart. There's a place in your heart you can feel a broken heart, but that we must learn to integrate loss into our lives. And I talk about how to do that. And afterwards, people are so pleased to hear that, because they feel honored and validated, not to just like, oh, they're in heaven and, they're going to be good now, to really acknowledge their grief and to help them make peace with it. That's the favorite part of my ministry right now.
Oh, I love that. I love that too. And I understand exactly what you're saying, because when you stop talking, they know they've been heard. I know that sounds funny, but that's exactly what it is, and that's wonderful.
That you can offer dignity, honor, and respect to the deceased and acknowledge the people who are grieving, because the only way out of grief is through. Yep. The only way out is through.
Absolutely. So how did you come to get into this kind of ministry? Because I know you served as a pulpit minister for a lot of years, and now you're a focus minister. How did that happen?
How did I switch?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Because becoming a pulpit minister was a great story, because I had been working in the optical field. I was a buyer stylist, and I was in New Jersey, and I went into a bookstore, and this book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Matter of fact, I saw it in your library, in your home. You have that big library.
Yep.
And it fell off the shelf. So I picked it up, which thank goodness I did, because the next day I went to take a voice lesson and I took a deep breath and I almost passed out. I was in so much pain. I went to a doctor who said, come back in a week. You're too sick. I can't even examine you. And we'll get you better one day. Don't worry, we'll get you better. So I read the book that said to me that there was an infinite intelligence in my body that could heal me. And so I said over and over, I even made it into a jingle, I'm open and receptive to the healing power of the infinite intelligence within me. Every cell, every muscle, every tissue and bone is renewed, renourished, and revitalized. I am healed. I am healthy. I am vital and strong in my mind, my body, and my spirit. And I went back to that doctor a week later, and he said, well, if I hadn't examined you, I wouldn't believe the record. This is unbelievable. Now, of course, he had given me antibiotics, but it wasn't the antibiotics. It was the prayer. Then when I came back to New York, my girlfriend called and said, there's this new kind of church. It's a New Thought church. And I went, and instead of going in the main entrance, I went in the back door and walked right into the library. And the first thing I saw was the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And I knew by then all about divine synchronicity, and I knew I was in the right place, the right time. So that's when I began taking classes. And then after ministering, I was a pulpit minister for 13 years. One of my little Sunday school girls was a gunshot victim when she was a little older. And it was so disconcerting and so disturbing. I'd go to the hospital, and unless you had a church home, there was nobody there to serve you. And that made me nuts. And that was back in 1997 when I went back and got further credentialed as a chaplain with Emerson Theological Institute, emersoninstitute.edu. That's where I went and got credentialed and started exploring ministry beyond walls, because there were so many people who wanted to be served. And I ended up doing a lot of weddings, funerals, on and on, memorials, baby namings. I've married over 1,000 couples on Long Island and have done a lot of different ceremonies, house blessing, office blessings, spiritual mind treatment. People, if your audience is familiar with a practitioner, that's someone who's certified in how to pray for someone. So I have practitioner clients. So the ministry really flourished in different ways. And that was a long answer to a quick question.
Oh, no, that was a wonderful answer. That was a great answer. And so, but you didn't mention something I was kind of waiting to hear about, because the first time I saw you was at an Anton conference when you were doing a workshop about havening.
Havening, sure.
And it was, I had never even heard of it. I knew about EFT, emotional freedom training. I tapping. I always think of it as tapping. I knew about that, but I had never heard of havening, and it was just fascinating. So could you talk a little bit about that? I know that's a big part of your ministry too.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of trainings, workshops, not trainings, but workshops. I am certified Havening Techniques practitioner. My website is Transformational Havening. Oh, I see it on the screen.org. You can check it out there and find out more about it. Havening, the word haven means a place of safety and comfort. And havening techniques are innovative neurosensory techniques that are remarkably effective in changing the chemistry of the brain and creating new neural circuitry. It can elevate your mental state so that you can live from a realm of feeling peaceful and calm and safe. And it's also effective in reducing stress and feelings of emotional pain. And even if you're working with someone who's certified, you can even heal issues of PTSD. So what's so exciting about havening is that you don't have to talk about the issue. You don't need to. And once I learned about havening, I actually took down my EFT website. I didn't even need it anymore because havening was so much more effective and so much quicker. It was just amazing. So I can demonstrate right now briefly havening. So there's 3 primary places where you haven. Haven is a place of safety and comfort. And neurosensory technique, this is the sensory part. One place is here. You stroke your face. Some people stroke down. Some people go across the forehead and across the cheeks. And if we're doing this now, if you notice how you feel now, you can compare it to when we're finished. That's one way. Another way is to rub your palms together. And what there is Pacinian corpuscles, and they activate a chemical.
Say that again.
Pacinian, Pacinian, Pacinian corpuscles are activated. They cause a chemical calcium chain reaction in the brain, and it creates delta waves, which are the waves when we're in our deepest sleep. And so this is a second way to haven. And the third way is to stroke downwards from your shoulder. You lift your hands up and stroke downward only. And this is good if I have an extra layer on because I'm on Long Island. It's pretty cold here. But if I were actually doing a havening session right now on myself or with someone, I would take my jacket off so that there could be the activation. So those are the 3 primary ways to haven, and there's 7 techniques of havening. One of them is event havening, and that's if you have an issue, like maybe there's something that pops in your brain and bugs you and you just can't seem to let it go very well. You can look at the issue. And what we do is I get you to think about it for a moment, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 0 means that it doesn't bother you at all. And 10 means that it's quite stressful. You give me a number. I typically get people from a 10 to a 6 in a matter of minutes, down to a 2. And then you ask them to think about the issue. And they think, and it's the most unusual sensation because the emotion is gone. The memory of the circumstance is there, but the emotion surrounding it is eliminated. It is a fascinating technique. Fascinating. So what I do on Mondays, I pretty much do havening on Facebook. I call it Monday Mindful Moments. And I do spiritual affirmational havening. So what I do is I just simply tell the people the 3 primary places to haven. And then I begin doing affirmations. Like, for instance, I am in the flow of spirit. Or I'm grounded in divine love. I'm always in the right place at the right time. I'm divinely guided in all I think, say, and do. And on and on. And there's a lot of YouTube videos on it. I haven't made any yet, but there's so many YouTube videos that people can check it out for themselves. But it's a marvelous technique. And what I just demonstrated was to help you elevate your mental state. But there's transformational is my website, transpirational havening. And that's where you take an emotion and you repeat it over and over until the emotion is released. It's wonderful.
Amazing. Okay. So I have to ask, how did you find that? I mean, I had never heard of it and I've been around a while. So I'm curious to know how you found it. And I'm grateful to know that you did so that I could bring you here and a bunch of other people could find it too.
Well, good. So it's taken off in Europe. In the United Kingdom, it's taken off. It's only been around since 2013. And it's really something that Ronald and Steve Rudin, their brothers, have discovered because they're very into brain chemistry, neuroscience. And what's the name of the book the one brother wrote? It's about brain chemistry. It's a really great book. It's Ronald Rudin, Ruden. You can look it up on Amazon. I don't want to look it up now because I don't want to disturb the transaction here. And you can see how people who have addictions and cravings, it's all about the brain chemistry and it can be changed through havening. So in my work, performing the celebration of life memorial and funerals, I had been asked to give a keynote speech over at a candlelight vigil during the Great Shutdown when people, they couldn't have traditional funerals. And so they had me speak. And afterwards, she put me on her mailing list. And this particular cemetery has sessions for people who are grieving. And so I signed up because I love taking trainings. I've taken lots of trainings. And I said, let me see what's going on. And so she had one lady speak who just had us haven. And she had us walk through a forest and this and that. She did what was called event havening. I was astonished at the efficacy of the havening. So I looked it up. I went online, and there was someone locally who was giving a training about 9-10 days later. And I called her up, and there was space in the program. I signed up, and that was back in early summer of 2021. And in order to be credentialed, you have to take a science course, you have to study science, you have to take an ethics course, you have to do 30 case studies, which are reviewed by your teacher. You have to do 2 video case studies. And I just kept at it because I was determined to make a difference. That's one of my core highest values, is I want to make a difference in life. And I knew that this was an incredible way. And I'd like to say one more thing about that, if I may. You know, it'll be 35 years this summer that I am ordained as a New Thought minister. And we're taught we're spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical beings. Now, physically, we know we're to exercise and eat right, take care of our bodies. Mentally, we know in terms of spiritual connection, we have spiritual study every day. We read, we study, we keep our brain active. But emotionally, there was always something not right with that. You know, we're taught to forgive and let go, but it was so hard when the ego gets involved, because the ego just wants to play it over and over. And I could have said, I should have said, I would have said, why didn't I say? And it can make you nutty. And when I found havening, I felt like the final piece of the puzzle was put in place. That havening, in terms of spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical being, that was the missing piece that you could really, really emotionally heal. And it's wonderful. And once you learn how to do it, you can do it on yourself, which is just absolutely marvelous to do it on yourself.
Boy, I'll say. Well, I have a handful of questions that I ask everybody, no matter what their ministry is about. And you just bumped right up against one of them. So I'm going to ask it now, and then we'll go on with whatever. And that is, what is the thing to which you are most committed?
What are the things to which I am most committed? That's a great question for me, because back in 1988, when I first was ordained, I had studied with Noel McGinnis. And down in Washington, D.C., I used to have to fly back and forth. And we studied the power of commitment and the difference between a promise, an intention, and a commitment. So right now, where my commitment lies, I've taken, my little affirmation cards that you mentioned.
Love your little affirmation cards.
What I did is I went into the studio, and I had my producer put music to them. And then we made them 45 minutes long, so they would play over and over. I don't know how to distribute it yet. I'm not sure about that, but I was just going on a spiritual nudge to do it. And then, of course, I have jingles. I just wrote another jingle. It goes like this. How do I nourish my spirit? Every single day. It's all about whatever I think and do and say. I radiate great light and love. It can be no other way. For I am God expressing in unique and marvelous ways. And so I'm committed now to getting the jingles recorded. I love that. And my other main commitment right now is getting out these ideas of havening. And the last commitment is I want to get more and more people aware of the services that the Guiding Light Foundation does with the Celebration of Life Memorial and Funeral Services. That website is comprehensive. There's an article on there, what to do when you're grieving. And when you first go into the website, it's www.youarethelight.org. You spell it like you say it. Oh, there it is. Youarethelight.org. And what's so beautiful is when you click on, the first thing you see is beautiful water, because water is very healing. And sometimes people are grieving so hard, they can't really hardly do anything. Just sit and look at the water. You can look at a picture of water. You can shower. You can wash your hands, brush your teeth, whatever, to go down, even looking at pictures of water going down. Fortunately, on Long Island, we're surrounded by water, so you can go down and look at the water. And then when you go into the website, it's really comprehensive, because since the Great Shutdown, everything has changed around funerals and memorials. People don't lay out bodies that they used to. Most people do memorials about 4 to 6 weeks after the person had made their transition, which I like that idea, because it gives them a place to get settled a little bit, where they're more centered and they can manage the energy around the funeral service a little better. So those are right now my 3 main commitments.
All righty. So what's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now in your ministry?
Getting people to find out about celebration of life, funeral, and memorials. When people die, people, a lot of times they gravitate to the religion, their birth religion, or if they had one, or they do nothing. So just getting people aware. I created a beautiful brochure. I write letters to the funeral directors. And see, once you do a service and they see it, then you're in, and they'll tell people. So that's my biggest thing right now, is getting people to know about what is a celebration of life, memorial, and funeral service.
And I went to your website, of course, and there were tons of comments from people that you had done services for their loved ones, and but I didn't think to look if there are any of your services recorded. Can people, there's on your website where they can hear you speaking, where they can see you speaking?
No, I don't. No, I thought about that. I don't find that appropriate, because it's too personal. You could go on my Facebook page and see me performing a wedding, but not a funeral and memorial service. What we do is, when we first get a call, we get the information, then we send out a list of poems and readings, which we say we hope offers you solace. And if you could pick a couple, then we get an idea of the direction they want. Because a lot of times people say no religion, and then I'll check and I'll say, do you want the Lord's Prayer? And they'll say, oh yes, we want the Lord's Prayer, even though they said no religion. So that, for me, giving them that little kit of that list of poems and readings, I get a better idea where they're coming from. And then I find out, what are you looking for? Like, we like to talk about how the soul lives forever, how love is the glue that holds the universe together and connects you with your loved one forever. And, hopefully people will see the reviews we get. I mean, I got a card the other day. I read it and I just welled up with tears. I mean, people write the most extraordinary thank you cards, and it's wonderful to receive those. But sometimes the work is not easy. If you're working, if the decedent is 80 or 90 years old, they've lived a good full life. But if it's a baby or a teenager or a middle-aged person, that's why you need to rely on Reverend Karen and I. We do it mainly. We also have Reverend Saba. Rely upon the person who is conducting the service for a lot of support through a very difficult time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see, what's the next one? Okay, now I have 3 more questions that I ask everybody, and they're sort of big questions, but there are no wrong answers. Here's the first one. 10 years from now, if everything goes exactly the way you would like it to go, what would your ministry look like? What will your ministry look like?
Oh, I'm not so sure about that. I've got a couple of dreams. One of my dreams would be to live on a yacht. I'm a big boat person. I'm the rear commodore for the local boat council. And, I take navigation and piloting and seamanship. I'm certified to teach it. I'm a certified vessel safety examiner. I'm very into water. I have a commitment to that too. So it would probably be teaching havening on my yacht, or performing weddings on my yacht, or doing burials at sea on my yacht. And not a big boat, like only about 50 feet, not super big. not super big. Like
Biggest boat I've ever been on is a rowboat, so
Oh,
except
okay. Well, then that must
I
have
was
been
on a ferry once, but that
that's
was,
a big deal.
40 years ago, and it
Yeah.
doesn't count.
So in 10 years, I'd like to do ministry on a yacht and, do,
I love it.
burials at sea, teach havening and, and do
Oh,
weddings.
that's wonderful. Okay, now here's the next one. How does your ministry support, expand, enhance, pick your verb, conscious evolution?
How does it support conscious evolution?
Huh?
Well, probably one of my highest skills is inspirational talks. And I speak out at the New Thought Spiritual Center of Eastern Long Island. And now more than ever, people are becoming aware of the infinite intelligence, the power within them, the power to create with their thoughts. And to teach that people are light workers, to have them understand and know that who they are and how they show up in the world makes a significant difference in the evolution of mankind, in the evolution of their individual soul. And if I be lifted up, shall add all men unto me. And so as we do spiritual study and spiritual work, we raise our own consciousness. And in raising our own consciousness, we raise the collective consciousness.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so here's the third one. I think this is the third one.
I think so.
How does your ministry support, enhance, create, pick your verb, world peace?
Well, back to the answer to that last question, the more people are right with themselves, the more you become aware of the amazing energy and power of spirit that expresses through you and as you and in all of life everywhere. I think you're doing what Jesus talked about when he's saying walk in the kingdom. And as you walk in the kingdom, and as you become more and more aware that you are the light and the love of spirit in action, that naturally ripples out to bless other people. And that will naturally bring forth greater world peace, which now more than ever, I mean, what's going on in Turkey, my goodness, right now the race mind is in a shambles. There's a lot of fear out there. So that's why now more than ever, we need to turn off the TV unless we can watch the TV and bless it and know the truth. And we need to continually know the spiritual truth that God is a God of love, a God of peace, a God of oneness, and that we can allow that energy and power of love to express through us in dynamic and powerful and remarkable ways so that individually we ripple out peace and then collectively we uplift the world.
Okay, I'll take that. All right, now I have one more question everybody gets, but first I want to ask you a question that's just for you because I love your affirmation cards. And I remember when we were at Anton, you brought us a different one every day. So do you have one for today that you could share?
Sure, I got one right here. I got a couple of them. Let's see. This one is I create peace. You were just talking about peace. And since I am one with the creator of all that is, my thoughts and words have the power to create. I create my future by thinking positive thoughts and anticipating happiness, peace of mind, and success. I choose those thoughts that promote unity, harmony, and peace for myself, my country, and the world. And so it is. If anybody wants to contact me, you can contact me through my website, and I'll be happy to send you some affirmation cards.
I love your affirmation cards. Thank you so much. And here's the last question that I ask every single person. Will you come back? Will you come back?
Oh, well, I was waiting for the question. Oh, I would love to come back. And I would love to come visit you again.
Oh, I would love that too.
Yeah, we really enjoyed, and I love that you have a library that's open to true students. I think that's absolutely amazing. I would love to come back. I bless you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And
okay, hold on. I don't let people say yes, they'll come back. I get the calendar out.
Okay.
The first opening I have is August the 15th.
Let me see now.
So any Tuesday starting August the 15th, you can pick any Tuesday you want.
That's boating season there, Reverend Sharri. August 15th. Oh, well, that's during the week. That's fine. I can do August 15th or August 8th. What's better for your calendar?
August 15th.
Okay, I'm in. I'm writing it right down right now. Wonderful. I bless you. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. It has been a delight to see you again. And everybody, please come back again next week. Next week, our guest is Reverend Laura Topper from the UK. And she's going to be talking about women of power. So you don't want to miss it. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things.